In the final hours of a terrifying escalation between Pakistan and India, the world watched with trembling breath. Fighter jets were flying dangerously close, troops were mobilizing at the borders, governments were preparing for the unimaginable, and suddenly, at the height of panic, a single phone call from Washington changed everything. Donald J. Trump, the 45th President of the United States, stepped in with a late-night intervention that stopped two nuclear-armed nations from walking into a catastrophic war. But here's the real question that nobody dares to ask. Was Trump acting as a global peacemaker? Or was the ceasefire part of a deeper American strategy? In this documentary, we break down the untold story, the geopolitical chessboard, and the secret motivations behind one of the most dramatic diplomatic moves of the decade. Stay with us, because what unfolds next will challenge everything you think you know about world politics. The day the world held its breath. As tensions rose between Pakistan and India, the global community felt a chilling déjà vu. History had seen these two countries clash before, but this time, intelligence agencies were warning of a much graver threat. Satellite images showed troop movements, border villages reported artillery fire, media houses across South Asia broadcast emergency bulletins. Even stock markets dipped as investors feared the worst. Inside both nations, civilians rushed to stockpile essentials. Whispered rumors suggested that both militaries were preparing retaliatory strikes far harsher than anything seen before. The world watched, silently hoping it would all stop before the point of no return. Nations reached out, mediators attempted communication, but the window for diplomacy was shrinking rapidly. It was in this climate of fear and uncertainty that an unexpected global player stepped into the spotlight, someone who, until now, had praised both nations, yet kept a strategic distance. Donald Trump's sudden entry into the crisis would soon dominate headlines and redefine the course of the conflict. How the Indo-Pak conflict escalated. Understanding Trump's intervention requires stepping back to examine how the crisis spiraled so quickly. It began with border skirmishes, small incidents that rapidly grew into major exchanges of fire. Nationalist rhetoric intensified on both sides. Defense ministries issued warnings. Analysts predicted that if even one miscalculation occurred, both nuclear powers could be drawn into a devastating showdown. India deployed additional battalions near the line of control. Pakistan responded with its own mobilization. Airspace alerts were issued, fighter jets patrolled the skies, and intelligence reports hinted at potential preemptive strikes. Social media made the situation worse. Viral posts triggered fear, anger, and misinformation. Peace advocates pleaded for calm, but strategic interests and political pressures drowned them out. The conflict was no longer a local dispute. It had become an international crisis with global consequences. Allies of both nations monitored developments, preparing contingency plans as they braced for a regional war that could send shockwaves across the world economy and diplomatic landscape. Washington wakes up. The U.S. reacts. As the crisis unfolded, the United States initially adopted a cautious stance. American diplomats watched carefully, but refrained from taking center stage. After all, Washington had important ties with both nations. India was a major strategic partner. Pakistan was critical for regional stability and counter-terror operations. But when intelligence briefings reached the White House, revealing the imminent possibility of a full-scale war, the alarm bells rang loudly. Defense officials warned the administration, if Pakistan and India collided, the conflict could spiral far beyond South Asia. Oil prices could surge, trade routes could be disrupted, terror groups might exploit the chaos, and most importantly, a nuclear confrontation could lead to unimaginable loss. Trump, known for unconventional diplomacy, sensed an opportunity, not only to prevent disaster, but also to place America again at the center of global decision-making. He asked for direct communication lines to be opened. He wanted real-time updates, and he made one thing absolutely clear. The United States would not sit idle. Phone call. The story takes a dramatic turn on a tense night when both Pakistan and India were allegedly preparing for retaliatory military action. Reports indicate that Trump personally called officials in both capitals, urging restraint. According to insiders, his tone was firm, urgent, and unusually direct. He warned leaders that the world was watching and that any escalation would bring uncontrollable consequences. For some, it was yet another example of Trump's bold but unpredictable style. For others, it was the move of a leader genuinely concerned about global peace. Sources later revealed that Trump didn't just request calm, he offered mediation. He emphasized America's long history of involvement in South Asian stability. Whether driven by diplomacy or opportunity, his timing was impeccable. Within hours of his calls, both nations released signals of de-escalation. A ceasefire was discussed. As the news broke worldwide, analysts were stunned. Many praised Trump's intervention. But behind closed doors, global powers began asking, why did Trump step in now? The ceasefire announcement that stunned the world. When word of the ceasefire emerged, international media erupted. Headlines called it a Trump-brokered breakthrough. News anchors debated how a single phone call could halt two armies on the brink of war. Diplomatic experts rushed to decode the situation. Some saw it as a rare moment of effective crisis management. Others argued it was Trump's attempt to cement his legacy as a global negotiator. In South Asia, the reaction was mixed. Civilians in border regions breathed a sigh of relief. Families living under constant fear of military strikes finally felt hope. But nationalist commentators on both sides questioned the motive behind American involvement. Was this truly a peace-driven move? Or was the United States securing its own strategic interests, using conflict as leverage? Despite the debates, one thing was certain. Trump's announcement changed the trajectory of a potential war, and the world would spend years analyzing how it happened. And why? Was America really neutral? To understand whether the United States acted with pure intentions, we must examine America's long-standing political and military interests in South Asia. Historically, Washington has balanced its relationships with both India and Pakistan, maintaining defense partnerships, economic ties, and intelligence cooperation. But the modern geopolitical landscape is far more complex. India is central to countering China's rise, while Pakistan remains crucial for regional security. A war between the two would destabilize America's strategy, risk global markets, and weaken the U.S. influence in Asia. So the question arises, did Washington truly step in to save lives, or was it preventing a threat to its own interests? Experts argue that while the ceasefire undeniably prevented conflict, it also ensured that America remained the indispensable power in the region. In international politics, neutrality is rare. Every move carries calculations, and the U.S., as always, may have been thinking several steps ahead, even while presenting itself as a peacemaker. Inside Trump's real motives. What was Trump aiming to achieve? His supporters believe he genuinely wanted to prevent nuclear war. They highlight his past attempts to mediate global crises, from Korea to the Middle East. But critics paint a different picture. They argue Trump saw the Indo-Pak crisis as a stage to showcase American influence. Some analysts claim he wanted to strengthen ties with both nations ahead of future negotiations. Others believe he used the ceasefire to position himself as a global statesman capable of preventing wars, an image useful for domestic politics. Diplomatically, the move also reinforced America's presence in a region where China was gaining ground. By stepping in, Trump reminded the world that Washington still held the diplomatic toolbox and military leverage needed to influence major conflicts. Whether driven by compassion, strategy, or self-interest, Trump's motive remains debated. But one fact stands strong. His intervention changed the course of history, and his timing was no coincidence. Reactions. From Islamabad and New Delhi, both Pakistan and India reacted cautiously but distinctly to Trump's intervention. Pakistan publicly welcomed efforts toward de-escalation, viewing mediation as an opportunity to prevent unnecessary conflict. Leaders emphasized the importance of diplomacy, while military officials signaled readiness but not desire for war. India, on the other hand, responded more strategically. While acknowledging the ceasefire discussions, New Delhi avoided giving Trump full credit. Historically, India prefers bilateral resolution without third-party involvement. Yet, behind closed doors, analysts suggest that Indian officials understood the danger of escalation and recognized the value of U.S. influence in preventing miscalculations. Publicly, both nations maintained national pride, but privately, diplomatic insiders later revealed that the U.S. message carried weight. It wasn't simply a request, it was a warning. And both countries, aware of America's political, economic, and military leverage, had little choice but to take the intervention seriously. Global powers joined the conversation. Once the ceasefire was announced, reactions flowed across the world. China, Russia, the UK, and the European Union closely monitored the situation. China, an ally to Pakistan but also an economic partner with India, expressed relief but remained cautious about growing U.S. influence in the region. Russia called for diplomatic dialogue, subtly reminding the world of its own strong ties with India. European nations praised the de-escalation, but worried about the precedent of powerful leaders intervening in regional conflicts. The United Nations acknowledged the ceasefire as a positive step, yet quietly noted that long-term peace still required deeper negotiations. What stood out most was the narrative. Trump had managed something remarkable, but at a global cost. His involvement shifted the power balance. It repositioned the United States as the central mediator in South Asia. The question, was it heroism or hidden agenda, is for you to decide. History is shaped not just by leaders, but by the people who interpret their actions. If you enjoyed this deep dive documentary and want more powerful geopolitical stories like this, make sure to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss an episode. And tell us in the comments, was Trump saving the world or saving American interests? Your opinion might just spark the next big discussion.